paranormal there and here has just been completely life-changing for me. I've been fortunate enough to work with some of the most respectable and well-known names in the fields, including both of yourselves. And most recently met Ron Moorhead, the country's leading Bigfoot expert. And I mean, you just never know who you're going to meet, and it's fascinating. But Hawaii really is also a UFO hotspot. You know, we've got all the giant mountains there, and the lava, the energy, the magnetism, and it would seem like an appropriate hotspot for crafts to visit. You know, if they're working on other forms of energy like magnetism and other things, you know. And so people say, why is Washington or Hawaii a hotspot for UFOs? And, you know, that's a common question we get. And my answer would be, you know, I think it has to do with the earth energies that are present in these locations. You know, you could call it a vortex, you could call it a magnetic anomaly, you know, but I believe it has to do with these earth energies. You know, need I remind everybody that we're actually floating on spaceship Earth right now through space, and we're not filling up at AM PM, you know, every other day, and it's all magnetic levitation. You know,
point.
It's the universal, you know, magnetism and things like that, electricity, electric universe, and so when we can really work with these advanced scientific principles and quantum physics, quantum mechanics, you know, then we'll really start to get somewhere. Because right now it's like we've just kind of been, for the last 70 years, you know, kind of lied to, you know, swamp gas and Venus refracting on whatever, you know. And then so it's nice to get a kind of a change of story where we're getting some validation for the research we do. You know, we're not just tinfoil hat wearing people in our mom's basements or something. We are, you know, taking time to listen to people who have sightings and then researching it, doing more about it. And that's what I did in Hawaii for so long is I gave people an avenue to share their stories with. And in return, I've become a storyteller. And I recently started, not recently, I should say, about 3.5 years ago, we started doing nighttime historic tours on the Big Island. And so I started the Big Island Ghost Tours, and we've taken people around on both sides to places of history and mystery, and we're storytellers. And that's really what this comes down to, is listening to other stories and sharing our stories. And I've just been fortunate enough to do that, you know, and to continue to do that and to follow my passions. It's an amazing thing. And I really think Hawaii was a catalyst for me to do that, like moving there. You know, I wrote about it in the Vortex Guide, the Hawaii Vortex Field Guide, that there's a call to the island, and you're called there no matter where you are. When you get the call, most people tend to listen to it and go out there, and there's something to be learned or what's the word, assimilated there, you know. And it's a magic place, you know. You don't need me to tell you that Hawaii is a magic place, but
oh yeah,
you know, it's great.
Well, Zach Royer, you are the perfect guy to ask this question to, because I have been so fascinated with some of the lore of the Hawaiian natives and things, and you are a certified paranormal investigator from Hawaii. Can you tell us about the Night Marchers, the legend of the Night Marchers?
Yeah, absolutely. I've done some pretty extensive research into the Night Marchers. There's kind of two stories that I've learned as far as the Night Marchers. There's the first story that they are the guardian spirits for the royal spirits. You know, the previous kings and queens and princes of Hawaii, they had their entourage and their guardians wherever they went, and so they're so dedicated to that role, these guards, that they continue to do it in the afterlife. And so, when you hear of the night marchers, you would hope that it's in your friend telling you the story and not actually hearing drums in the distance getting closer and closer to you, which is how the legend goes, is that they're marching. They're just continually marching around the island, doing what they did while they were alive. And, sometimes people are on the coastline fishing. Actually, a lot of times people are on the coastline at night fishing, because you're allowed to fish at night, all night in Hawaii. And so a lot of sightings have been from fishermen that were out there, and it's dark, and then they see this procession of lights coming down from the mountain or coming in the distance towards them. And so that's really the first kind of story of the night marchers, is the guardian spirits that are guarding the king and the queen in the afterlife. And so, hotels and houses that are built on these pathways, they're marching on a path called the King's Trail on the Big Island and other islands as well. But they're, anytime there's a structure in their path, is when people report unwanted things like shaking of beds and furniture and being maybe choked or pressed, like a sleep paralysis kind of thing, only to discover that just by moving the bed or the furniture out of that room or that way, it goes away. And so that's one story of the night marchers. The other, according to the book Tales of the Night Rainbow, which is an oral history that was recorded in book format, the night marchers are in fact the original inhabitants of the islands, and they were there before the first migration of Polynesians in like 700 or 800 AD. There was supposedly already structures built on the island, and like the walls, they were adept at using lava rock to build walls and fish ponds to keep fish in, and so when, according to this book, they were the original inhabitants who were not really, their physique wasn't really that of a warrior's physique. They were more of a fisherman and a farmer, kind of a peaceful society, according to this book. And when the Polynesians arrived, they brought with them what's called the kapu, which translates to taboo, and it's a set of laws that that brought with it human sacrifice. So if you broke the law, certain laws, then you would be caught and possibly killed. They did allow you to make your way to what's a place called the Place of Refuge, where you can be blessed and have the forgiveness from a priest. But so back up a little bit to the original inhabitants. They were smaller than the Polynesians, who had just voyaged across the ocean, in canoes and had war and weapons. And so they went into the mountains to avoid being slaughtered. And they would come down from the mountains under the cover of night to fish and to gather, fruits and things. And you'd see the trail of lights. You'd see the torches coming down the mountains. And so the night marchers and the Menehune, according to this book, Tales of the Night Rainbow, I'm not making this up, it's in this book, and it's written by a Hawaiian, that the Menehune and the night marchers originally started as one and the same. And, you may hear or think that they're two separate reported paranormal activities in Hawaii, the Menehune being kind of like a small dwarf race that's mischievous, that takes things off your porch, and messes with you. And the night marchers are these big warriors, ghost warriors, when really they could be one and the same, simply, because these Menehune, these people, were coming down from the mountains under the cover of night. And so they were given the name Night Marcher. And so there's two sides to the story, but it's fascinating either way you look at it. There's neither right or wrong. It's people report seeing these things still to this day, and we collect these reports and investigate them. And put them in our case log for people to read and to comment on, to share their stories on. And so you can find all that at the website kahunaresearchgroup.org, and just type in, in the search bar there, Night Marchers, or look at our case log. But it's interesting how the Hawaiian and their belief of the afterlife parallels that of many other cultures around the world. It's, with the spirit traveling to a portal to the afterlife. And so I'm just entirely too excited about being involved in this type of stuff and learning more about other cultures and being able to then share what I learned with others.
Wow. Well, Jack, if I can add a story to your collection, this isn't a story that happened to me, but somebody I know here in Port Townsend, when he first found out I was a UFO investigator, he started to tell me about an incident that happened on Maui, where he purchased a piece of property many years ago, and this incident probably took place 15 or 20 years ago. Like the first day he's on the property, he's walking around it, and it's after dark, and all of a sudden he sees the Night Marchers coming across the mountain towards him, and they passed right through him. And the terror that was in his voice, in fact, I've got the shivers now just remembering the tone of voice.
Oh, yeah. But we call that chicken skin there in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Chicken skin.
But they passed right through him and said 20 years later, it still terrifies him that this thing happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a common report from multiple islands. I mean, that's kind of their land and their pathway, and the islands consist of this volcanic lava, hardened lava, and it's all magnetic. And so, when we're dealing with the paranormal, we constantly refer to energy being sometimes stuck or residual energy on the land. And so Hawaii is just like a beacon or magnet of this energy. And it fluctuates. There's both good and bad energy, vile and healing. And it's, real interesting. Thanks for sharing that with me, Maureen. I will definitely, put that on the map and see if we can kind of correlate find any correlations between sightings and places.
I'm sure I could get you the exact location on Maui.
Well, sweet. Yeah, that'd be great. I'm sure that'd be great for our website to have some kind of fresh material. And, I look forward to going back to the islands soon and getting back involved with leading tours and things like that. But for now, it's important that I'm here in Washington doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, and Zach, I would imagine that since the whole islands are volcanic mountains, volcanoes, and the Pacific Coast, with Mount Rainier and Mount Adams and all those things have so many UFO reports. Are there many UFO reports around volcanoes down there?
Absolutely, yeah. There's actually, believe it or not, a UFO landing pad that was built over on the Puna side of the Big Island. You can Google it and look it up. It's the real deal. They built, a cleared area for UFOs. I mean, they're so welcoming of culture there that it would almost be, it's such a melting pot of cultures that it would be an appropriate place to really, land or show themselves, extraterrestrials, and have it immediately spread, go viral from there, But there's tons of reports of these sightings around the volcanoes. My theory is that they're using some of those magnetic energies, the ribbons of energy that are around these places to charge their craft, or they're simply going like a subway station where Mount Rainier in Washington is stop A, and Mauna Kea or Mauna Loa on the Big Island or Kilauea is stop B, because the magnetic energy is so strong there that you can just, when you're traveling at these supersonic, these incredible speeds, you kind of have to have a destination to go to so your craft knows. Otherwise, you'll just keep going across the universe. So I really think that they're using mountains as as subway stations, you could say, as UFO stations to kind of quickly get to a place. Boom, it's like, okay,